Welcome to the RETSY podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Morrison. Today, Chris and I sit down with RETSY agents Cheyenne Coleman and Chad Klock with luxury home builder Emery Lane Homes. We talk about vertical integration within luxury home development. Let's get into it.
So we've frankly kind of cut down a little bit on the projects, but they've also become much bigger projects, much more substantial. I think our next 3 or 4 houses now coming up are $3 million, $5.75 million, $10 million. My partner just sold his for $7.65. I'm selling mine for just under 10. So it's, since right before the pandemic, it's just, as you guys know, it's just exploded.
Welcome to the RETSY podcast. Today we're sitting down with Chad Klock and Cheyenne Coleman from Emery Lane Homes, and both RETSY agents with us here at RETSY. Chad, Cheyenne, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, we always like to kind of start off with a little background, and so we'll start with Chad. What did you do before real estate and development?
Oh, a lot of stuff. I've had a lot of lives. I have a degree in exercise science from Black Hills State University in South Dakota, and we didn't have any health clubs, so that's how I matriculated down here, and then morphed into, I had a snack and vending business for years, which I got my ass handed to me, blown out in the downturn of 2008. That's when I got my real estate license.
Okay.
2009.
So real estate license, yep, that's right when I got started. So that was a fun time to get into the business.
Yeah, I was working for a company called MCA Financial, and we were doing receiverships. So I got to see some crazy stuff. I can remember collecting rents at a apartment complex on Central and Dunlap, and chickens are running around, and I don't speak Spanish. And
maybe explain to everybody what a receivership is.
Yeah, so we were taking over all the stuff that was going bad. Engle Homes, we did all their subdivisions, Super 8 motels, and so we have a relationship with MCA did with the judges, and then you get these receiverships assigned to you, and you got to work them out. One I worked on was realty executives.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Rich Record.
Oh yeah, because they went in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was over. They used to have their office, remember, on Campbell, off of Campbell, right there, off of 36th Street. And they tore it down and built those big apartments, like Domi or whatever it is. Yeah. And so I spent a year or two there kind of cutting my teeth, seeing everything. And then once it all got worked out, I was like, man, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. So I had a couple buddies that were realty executives at the time. And so I joined there. I was with them for a while. Then I was at Launch for a few years. And then you can check the numbers, but I think I was maybe one of the first couple dozen employees at RETSY, which would have been, when did you start?
Oh gosh, when you guys came over. So that was October 2nd, 2020?
Yeah.
And I came
right in the middle of COVID,
Yeah, because I came over January 21.
That's what I feel I came over.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so we came over.
So it's been a pretty good run. We're approaching 5 years.
Yeah. That makes you one of the original.
That's
originals.
what I'm saying. Yeah. I think we were top 10, top 20.
Yeah.
And it's been a good run. And I will tell you, at the time, the reason we flipped over was technology driven a little bit.
Yeah.
Really thought you were on the cutting edge of some of that stuff.
Well, it's just like at the time, it just seemed like all these brokers they were all in a race to the bottom to literally provide nothing and allow agents to keep 100% of their commission.
Yeah.
And the problem is therein lies everything lying on an agent, right? Like they got to be the person that answers the phone, that does the marketing, that sends out the social media, that designs the brochures, that gets them printed, that gets the mailing list, and sends out the postcards, and just all these processes that I had figured out previously when we were both together at Launch of here's systems to get that in place, and here's how you can mass produce it. Ironically, as you do more, it gets cheaper, so it makes more sense to do it as a brokerage. But just none of the brokerages out there believed in it. And I think you were one of the first person I demoed the whole QR code software and the retargeting software and all that stuff too.
That's the particular thing I remember is the QR codes that you were doing. And I was like, hey, wow. And the other thing was you'd had other businesses, right? And you were more entrepreneurial like myself, and us having the home building company at that point was a big deal too, because you saw the fit there.
Yeah. Well, and that was the early stages of here's what we see for development sales. Here's how we can work together. We were one of the first in the Valley to build an actual pocket listing service. I mean, essentially like on our Connect platform. Before that, it was actually called RETSY Chad. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And, it's just like getting agents together to communicate on lots and, find deals and know the developers. And, it's just like it fosters an environment for collaboration. When you have good collaboration, you have really good culture. Where it's just like we're not just the brokerage that hires anybody that can fog a mirror and have 9,000 agents and nobody knows anybody. It's like we have kind of a tight-knit family. Like when you come to a meeting, it's like everybody knows. Like you go to the Christmas party, everybody knows you. It's like it's a good environment.
That was early and it just grew. I mean, you think about all the teams you have now and all the from Shauna and Laura and Babby and all these guys that. Karen Tejada, recently. So we're friends with all these guys. As much as Phoenix is the 5th largest city, right, in America, it's this kind of, you become this small town feel, this knit community,
Well, in the upper echelon of real estate, it's like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, sure. Well, and I can tell you one example of that, the collaboration would be a couple years ago when we called you on the lot on Vista, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we're like,
we posted that in Connect.
Well, and Cheyenne was on that the first day it got posted.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I was like, yeah, you need to call Chris on this one. And so we got it, but then your seller, like a lot of sellers, the minute you get a quick offer, they're like, oh, shit, did we price it too low? And his question for you was, hey, I need to meet these guys. Who are these guys? And you're like, well, I can't, But you're finally like, fine, it's Emery Lane. And the guy's like, oh, I know they did it in our neighborhood.
He has like 16 signs up around his house.
So then he was okay. Yeah. He signed off.
Felt comfortable.
We got the deal done. By the way, we just sold that home last month for $4,750,000.
Gorgeous house.
Great house.
Gorgeous
we actually
house.
did a basement. I got Richard, my partner, to do a basement because I'm from Emery, South Dakota, and we have basements.
Well, I remember that deal because the neighbors are very interactive on that one. I'm sure you encountered that. I gave you the heads up on that. Mm-hmm. But when we picked a listing price for it, he went and called the neighbors, let them know we're going to list it. And they basically told him, like, you're out of your mind. You're never going to get that number. And I'm sitting here looking at comparables in that area, even on the other side of Scottsdale Road. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I think this is a really fair number for the house. Because he was just like, I need to sell it and I want to sell it. And I don't want it to be on the market for like 6 months. But knowing what you guys were doing, what you were acquiring dirt for, that Vista area, I mean, I still think that's one of the most up-and-coming areas. And you guys just kind of set the bar. Who knows where it's going to reach,
Yeah, it's a great pocket. And frankly, to be honest with you, we got offered $100,000 more a few weeks later. Actually, you might even called me and said you had a buyer.
I think I was the one that brought you that. Well, because it's just like, the neighborhood says it's too high, right? And then the market speaks. Mm-hmm. And the irony is if it's active, they want to give you 100,000 less, but the second they find out it's unavailable, then they'll go 100,000 over, and it's amazing the mentality. It's like a bidder mentality. Like I've been at auctions where it's like, I really want this thing, and I know I'm overpaying for it. But sometimes if you want it, you just overpay for it,
and you want to win.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I have a problem. We talk about that. Me and Richard is that we've had such phenomenal growth in 5 or 6 years, and so. You tend not to smell the roses, unfortunately, because you're caught up in the mustard. And me in particular have a kind of a affliction where I suffer the losses more than I enjoy the wins.
Yeah. But I remember coming to your guys' what did we call the party? The chill. The big party at the event, Lunch Izzle, where I mean, Emery Lane knows how to do their broker opens and their parties. I mean. It's an Emery Lane home when you can't find parking on the entire block. And you come up and you guys had that dude serving those awesome cheeseburgers.
Yeah, and Randizzle.
Randizzles, we love you.
Yep. And those were really good too, because usually I don't have time to sit down and eat. And then like I had 3 people like, you got to have one of these burgers. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and eat.
When we did the broker open at the Vista house, I have one of my investors, Alice. She's 80 years old. She's with Shane, who does our garage floor epoxies. Mm-hmm. And we're kindred spirits because they're from Worthington, Minnesota. I went to junior college in Worthington, Minnesota. Alice doesn't eat hardly at all. Right, like her diet consists of salted caramels and Diet Cokes. She ate a whole hamburger. She said it's the best hamburger she ever had. So we got Randizzle coming to another event for us next month.
Yes,
I will be there. I have the calendar invite.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that gets back to like, the way we collaborate and the way we work together. And, we have several builders now that either they have their license with us or they have a family member with their license with us. They always know somebody, but because of our pocket listings and off-market transactions, which usually go 10 times smoother than most transactions. When you have a couple hundred agents and pretty much all of them rank in the top, 1,500 in the valley, you're dealing with the best of the best. Yeah. They're all there to work together, represent their client, get the best price, and make sure it's a smooth transaction. So, because I know we also sold your personal home, or was it your partner's personal home off market?
Yeah. Off market. I think Chrissy.
Yeah, Chrissy from my team.
Complete accident, actually.
Chrissy called me and she's like, "How do you think we should approach this?" I'm like, "It's really simple. Call Shaianne or Chad.
Yeah,
like they'll walk you through. They'll tell you the number. And essentially, if the house is worth it, it's worth it." And that was an aggressive number at the time, but like I say in pretty much every real estate transaction, it's like you always feel like you're overpaying, but like call me in 6 months. Like you're going to feel like a genius, Yeah. Look at what that house would sell for today versus 4 years ago or 3 years ago.
Right, but even as of a couple of months ago, for what he's paying, and they closed, and my partner's staying in there for a couple of months, I now 5 doors down, and I'm under contract on my house, and it's probably $150 more per square foot. Mm-hmm. So when the buyer looks back now, they're going, "That's a good comp. We got a pretty decent deal."
Yeah. Well, it's just like everything goes up. I remember when I first started Spec and Homes, and you could pay a framer like $15 to $18 an hour. I know you're like rolling your eyes right now. It's
a little different now.
Everything's more expensive. What's funny is like commodities or steel or wood or whatever will go up and will go down. But when they go up, it's funny how like the labor cost goes up with it. And then they go down and the labor cost stays the same. And then they go up again and labor cost goes up and then they go down. It's just like, do you see that in the industry, or am I like just exaggerating?
Well, we get the question a lot recently with our home building company, with the tariffs, and is it affecting you? And we really haven't seen anything from that standpoint, as opposed to like when lumber 3-4 years ago was so high. Concrete costs and stuff are up a little bit, but lumber's not so bad now. But to circle back on that story, they had come to us on another property. I think it was Quail Place we're building, maybe even my house that we'd had on the market briefly. And this guy's financial advisor was like, you're stopped. You're capped here. Mm-hmm. So then I look at Shaianne, she looks at me, and we're like, should we say something to Richard, my partner? And I go, okay. So we said something to him, and he goes, yeah, they can take a look. He had to take his wife out for lunch the next day while they were looking at the house because he was scared to tell her. They've only been in the house for a year or so. And
that had to have been a fun conversation.
But then they were like, well, we want to see it at night. We want a second showing. And he's like, he had to tell his wife. So he massaged that out. Next thing you know, they had a deal within a week.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But as a builder, we build all this equity in these houses. It's a long, arduous process. And for us, you're either going to sit there on that equity, or it's like you got other stuff you want to do with it. And so it's just, you can't get, as builders, too connected to the house, I guess you'd say. I'm about to build my 4th house in the last 6 years. And thank God for my lovely wife. She's, a professional mover. And she, after the first 1 or 2, she kind of knows the deal now.
Yeah. She's like, let's not get too comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just watching. How many homes do you guys have in production now?
Well,
I see your signs all over the place.
Yeah,
now.
I can tell you my last house, which is a big house, and my partner knows this, I didn't love the process. I didn't love the journey. Mm-hmm. So to me, I thought we were getting a little bit scattered, a little bit stretched. Mm-hmm. So I would tell you 1.5 years, 2 years ago, we probably had 30 projects going.
Yeah.
Now we've cut that down in half probably.
Yeah.
So now our goal is to have maybe 5, 6, 7 of these specs going, but then to also have, 5, 6, 7 GC jobs. So you have this hybrid between when you spec a house, we don't see any of that money. And we personally have upwards of 30 investors, started with friends and family 5, 6 years ago. And I know every one of them by name, and they know where to find me, if there's a problem. And so now having the 5 or 6 GC jobs and the 5 or 6 spec houses, it's kind of a hybrid. And we feel like our guys can be on site practically every day and that journey, which is a tough journey building a house, as you guys probably know. It's very, very tough. But if you can get through that journey, it's super rewarding too.
Yeah.
So we've frankly kind of cut down a little bit on the projects, but they've also become much bigger projects. Much more substantial. I think our next 3 or 4 houses now coming up are $3 million, $5.75 million, $10 million. My partner just sold his for $7.65. I'm selling mine for just under 10. So it's since right before the pandemic, it's just, as you guys know, it's just exploded.
Well, and you guys play in that like sweet spot. I mean, you got some guys swinging for the fences, trying to get over $20 million for stuff.
And we've had those conversations, haven't we?
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, so what is the true sweet spot? And it's amazing how it's moved from 2 to 4.5 to 3 to 7, depending on the neighborhood. PV and Arcadia are different. It's like, and then it's just like now it's like, you can get 10, and then the question is. I remember at one time we had a conversation where it's like between 15 and 20 million, there's like 147 some odd specs.
Really?
But I mean, remember, like 80% of them were dirt and dreams, right? Everybody's like, list my dirt with these plans and I'll build the home for 20 million, right?
Sure.
But they don't even start on it. And like a savvy buyer that's spending $20 million in cash, I mean, I'm probably gonna get some backlash for saying this, but like, they're smart enough to go buy dirt and hire the architect and build it. So it's like you have to spec some, but then you have some clients that are your raving fans that have bought your home, want you to build another one. So then you also have to build them. But it was just kind of a dangerous spot. But like, look, 12 months later, like we absorbed the inventory. I mean, there's a couple builders that had to move into their own homes, which is not the end of the world. They live in it for 2 years, pocket $500,000 extra in tax-free equity, and then move on, But it's interesting how our markets absorb that and move the price point up. And, I think it just comes down to, they're releasing inflation numbers today and they're still below 3 or whatever. And at the time that we're recording this, they could be more. But that said, it's just like we're still feeling the inflation in the market. Like in everything we do, I was shocked at we did an addition to our house, just a small addition, 2 bedrooms for the kids and all that stuff. But just looking at the cost of what we did when we remodeled it like 8 years ago versus today, I mean, the door handles were 3 times the price.
Yeah.
From MTech.
Oh, yeah. We use MTech. Yep.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
And I think, and I was telling Matt this earlier, what you're seeing is the luxury market being what it is, and a lot of money's out there. Stock market's been on a hell of a run for 4 or 5 years since the pandemic. But what's tougher is the lower end stuff. Yeah. We have a listing for a gentleman that we built a house for out in Gilbert, and it's $650,000, and it's hard to get rid of. It's been on the market for months. We tend to, like with our builds, as you know, we're okay pre-selling. Yeah. Like, does it become tough? Do you get married? Does it become a custom build? Absolutely. But, it's kind of like a bird in the hand. Like, we're so busy. We have one right now that we're probably just doing cabinets and whatnot. It's on the market, and we have 3 different people really interested in the property, and we're okay with that. Whereas I would say most builders, and I understand this, by the way, want to take it to fruition so they don't have these change orders and they don't have to go through the minutia of dealing with but for us, we're okay pre-selling.
Yeah. But I mean, also, when you guys pre-sell, you set a realistic price. I always
That's
say
true too.
There's an in-the-market price, and you got to kind of land on the higher in-the-market price, where a lot of developers are like, well, we're not even really ready to sell it yet, so they way overprice stuff, and it just sits and sits and sits and sits, and then they take it off the market, and then they go back on the market. And but that said, it's just it's an interesting market to be in, and I've been very excited to see your growth over the years, and you and I have some really cool conversations. Like whenever Chad calls, I pick up no matter what I'm doing because I know it's going to be a great combo.
I get a little excitable. I go on a little bit of a tangent, But I think when you look at the market now, as opposed to a year or 2 ago, inventory's up, 35, 40% or whatever. Yeah. I think the advice I would give, at least the advice we follow, is when we're speccing these houses, we be careful, a little bit more careful now of the location, right? You're not, heck, we had a property that we thought was going to be about $2 million right over by Chick-fil-A and Pete's Fish and Chips over there.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a thoroughfare to get around that. And so we realized fairly quickly, and I have never, by the way, we have never had a house be viewed as much as this house. And we were like $2 million, it was 2,900 square feet, great little house, just very cool the way we did it. And the designer, Christina Forrest, 21 Interiors, just did a great design with it. And they would ask us constantly, did you have this anywhere else that you're building this house, Finally, we probably took about 10% less than we thought we were good. We still did fine on it. And
that little triangle or that little L shape, like I think that's up and coming. People haven't figured it out yet, but you're going to see more and more.
Well, and it's in a good school district. It's it's close to everything. It just happened to be that the people were rolling around. It was just a little much traffic. At the tail end, I had somebody be like, "Well, they didn't like the smell of Chick-fil-A and pizza." I go, "Well, that's delicious. What are you talking about?"
We'll put on 30 pounds buying this house.
Yeah. But I think as you go forward and as we go forward, we'd be a little cautious about on a busier street or taking that chance because, again, there's just more stuff to look at. Mm-hmm. But to your point earlier, we do kind of have a sweet spot. We're coming out with a 6,800 square foot house, 1,200 square foot guest house on over an acre in PV, views of the backside of Camelback, pickleball court, bocce ball court, and we're going to probably be 995.
Yeah.
Whereas around the corner, $13.5 million,
Yeah.
And it's like, when you get greedy, you know what happens. And so it's like, there is a lot of that. There is 10, 12, 15 million. And I think that's what I would say a little more of the uber luxury. And then your pocket of buyers gets a little bit less.
Yeah.
But, we're getting so many people moving in from, as you know, California, Washington, state of Washington. I mean, as you guys know, Phoenix is a great place to be.
Yeah. Hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's go into, so as you're scaling with growth and everything, I know you hit some different pain points and you're like, hey, did you follow through on the trucking company?
Yeah. Yep. We have a trucking company. We haul aggregate. It was 30 years owned by a family. And so when I was looking at what we're trying to do is have these vertically integrated companies. Okay. Yeah. So we own a pool company. Okay, because we're now building our own pools and we're about to close on a landscape company because we have so much land. We want to control those trades for us. But I just happened to see this trucking company and the numbers look good. And so I got into it. And it took us 15 months to buy the thing. But we were able to get it done and just a great core of people. And so it's been a great mix for us. We've actually done a few things where we haul dirt for our projects and some of that stuff. Yeah. But, it really comes down to the people. So you can't be everywhere at all times. So, for me, Cheyenne coming aboard at the ripe old age of 21.
Yep.
Her mother was our assistant controller. She's now at the pool company along with her father. And for her to take off some of the stuff off my plate.
Yeah.
And, Cheyenne, graduated college at 19. She was an agent at 18 with the team. She's an old soul. And so it's really helped. And then so her evolution as being titled director of the sales and marketing, you don't even want to know what's on her plate, from our apparel to our events to the events you go to.
You guys have great apparel.
Yeah, we try. We're trying.
I've been caught a lot of places wearing Emery Lane logos. So.
Yeah, we're trying to build the brand just like you are. But to have, it's the people. We're in the people business, and so we're trying to get better, and we're good, but we're not great.
Yeah.
And so I think you just strive, but you don't want to be a jack of all trades, right? So when we have these other businesses, we need, and I tell people when I go to these trucking meetings, I was at one yesterday. There's 12, 15 people in the meeting. We do a bi-weekly meeting. I'm the dumbest guy there. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
Yeah.
These guys have forgotten more about trucking than I'll ever know.
Yeah.
So it's really, and you've done that. You and look at when I started as number 10, 20 agent, and how many agents you have now?
Just around 200 producing.
Yeah. Selectively picked.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I love how you scaled, like when you were finding the bottleneck in pools, bought a pool company, revamped it, made it better. And now it's like you have in-house pools, and it's kind of like you look at a lot of builders and it's like, they're behind on landscaping because the pool company's behind, right? So you got two subcontractors that are causing this, and it's like it's the perfect narrative. But I'm like that shouldn't be a thing, right? But delays happen, right? Mm-hmm. But what do you typically say? Like start to build. Let's say you're building me 5,000 square foot house with 1,000 square foot guest house, pool, pickleball court. I have the land, the permits ready to go. What does it take to build a home nowadays with Emery Homes?
I think we could do that in 12 months if we're at that point. But it's that front end that is really problematic here in Phoenix. I mean, we have a person assigned to us down in Phoenix because we're also doing apartments and some infill development. And it's gotten worse, to be honest with you, since the pandemic. It's just really problematic. And for my partner, who's Richard Cardenas, the general contractor, that you're looking at maybe 4 to 6 months, maybe 8 months sometimes on the front end of this stuff. Goes into queue, as you know, right?
Yep.
And then you fix it right away, but then you're 30 days into queue until they bring it back out again.
Yep.
We're under contract right now to sell what we were going to do, 73 units, townhouses out by the football field, in Glendale. And it's just taken us so long that we kind of had to earlier this year just make a decision and pivot and go, okay, now we're going to have to build this thing. We're going to have to syndicate it, come up with 18, 20 million. Would we rather go buy a landscaping company? Who knows? Could be HVAC, could be framing eventually. It's like, because for us, you're putting all that money out with obviously no returns, whereas the businesses, there's cash flow. So at least we have the cash flows. You kind of have these hybrids of, as I mentioned earlier, specking houses, GCing houses. But again, goes back to the people. Who do you have running the pool company? Who are your superintendents? So we're constantly on the lookout to try to get better in that respect. But that's our plan. Over the next 3 to 5 years, we want to continue to grow what we feel are these core companies. So the trucking company is aggregate. So before they go blacktop in a subdivision, Terra Vallis out in Buckeye, the west side's on fire. That's us putting that down before they're doing it. And we're starting on Terra Vallis now. We're doing that project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the pool company.
Yeah.
Well, we're in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're really good at the remodels. We're doing new pools now too, but we probably did just under 400 remodels last year.
Wow.
Well, when you look at these subdivisions like Vistancia, Estrella Mountain Ranch, Verrado, some of the stuff on the west side where it's hot, those houses were built 20, 25 years ago. Yeah. So they're ready for a remodel now.
Yep.
So we are hoping to expand that business. We're based over in Gilbert and Baseline, and we do a lot of stuff over there. Now we're doing much more stuff in Arcadia.
Design right now and everything?
Yep. On that we do. Yeah. And it's much like our houses too. We have typically done in-house design on the houses too. We found kind of when we started that, dealing with architects was a little bit of a slow moving ship sometimes. And so we're able to get stuff done a little quicker. One of our mottos and our missions at the company is pace. We talk about pace and having a fairly steady and quick pace. We talk about, making decisions quick. That's why sometimes we do the GC jobs. You get in a little problem if the homeowners can't make decisions quickly. Yeah. But aggregate with subdivisions, pools, and homes. When we have a shortage of homes, and even though it's morphed into a little bit of the luxury stuff, we would do different subdivisions, different projects. But as a developer, you have to buy the land right. It starts at the buy, much like the deal that we did recently, right?
Yeah.
It starts with the buy. And unfortunately, unless you go way to the outskirts, we can't make those numbers work sometime.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the infill dirt numbers have gone up so much.
Yeah.
I mean, when we started RETSY, you could buy a decent lot in Arcadia proper for $1.2 million, right? And it's just like, and now it's like 2.5, 3. Yeah. I heard rumors somebody's buying like a half acre for like almost 4 and tearing it down.
Wow.
Yeah, we looked at 2/3 of an acre, I think 6-8 months ago, and it was about 2.5, 2.75 in Arcadia proper.
Actually, it was one of our agents I talked to. Is her own personal home, and it's worth 3.8 to 4, but they're buying it to tear it down, and it's a nice house. Like it's a really nice house. She's like, help me wrap my head around this. You got to remember when you move out, you're no longer living in it. Yeah. She's like, good point. Because she's so attached to how nice the house is.
Yeah, our last buy in Paradise Valley, kind of over off of Jackrabbit, Scottsdale Road area, we paid $2,575, and it was a long, arduous negotiation. We thought we were going to get it even cheaper, but when I tell people, guys in the business, developers, agents, they go, well, that's great, because you really can't find an acre in PV less than $3 million now.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the things that's helped you guys succeed, you're just so quick at making decisions. So many people lag on things, and this is where I'm going to give Shaianne a lot of credit. Like, whenever I need something quick, like, you instantly respond to text messages, this and that. I mean, it's so valuable because you usually, when you're working on something, your attention span's maybe 5 minutes before that next task. So you got to jump on a Zoom, or you got to meet a client, or you got to meet an agent or something like that. You're just so quick to respond. Like even on that Vista deal, you're like, sounds good. I'll run it by him and get back to you later today. And then it was like offer in the inbox later today. And I was like, yeah, nice. This is how it should be.
Well, and I think then you get to where, you get to know agents. You get to know, do they perform? Are they going to say what they're going to? Yeah. I think as I've gotten to the ripe old age, as an old geriatric like me, is that I'm very calculated with what I say, you know? And I think when you put it out there and you say something, oh, we're going to do this, then you're accountable. So I don't mind saying to you, we're going to, do this or do that in the next 3 to 5 years, but because then I feel I'm accountable because I've told you,
It's funny that I feel kind of the same way in our advisory board meetings where it's like, we're going to get this done, and this done. Like we just got back from a Cabo trip where I locked all the partners in a room for 6 hours. And I'm like, these are the initiatives for RETSY over the next 3 years. Like, let's get some stuff approved. And it was just like, by putting that out there, that also sets a level of accountability, not just on me, but all the partners of RETSY of like, hey, we got to open this office, right? Here are the 2 options in Flagstaff. Which one do you guys want to do? Or do we want to do them both? It's like, here's our options in Tucson. Like, here's what we're doing. And it's just like, by putting it on there, what was the last page of our deck? The execution list, right?
The punch list.
Like, that means, and everybody's got access to that deck. So we go to that punch list and slowly cross the things off. It'll take 5 years to get it all done. But we'll update it every year when we do our big meeting. But like, you have to do that. It sets a level of accountability.
Well, I go to the point, and Cheyenne's going to laugh at me because I am the least technology advanced person in the world. And so if I get an iPad or I get a phone, she sets it up for me, right? Like when we built our house and I have a theater and I have all this other stuff, I had my 2 kids stay home from school that day so they could meet, Dennis Sage Home Entertainment and go through the tutorial, right, to how to run the theater. But that is one thing I do is I make a list every day. Yeah. And so then I'm accountable to that list, and a lot of people do it, but you prioritize, right? Yeah. And then if I got 20 of them and the 2 things bail over, those are the 2 things I start with this morning. But I like being calculated, putting it out there with our even with Cheyenne, I'll bounce stuff off her a lot, but they're usually pretty pregnant ideas. They could come to fruition, Yeah.
No, you do a great job at everything sales, marketing. It shows. And I mean, a lot of the success from the company comes from the sales team and in moving that product. So, and I know you help him out a lot. I just kind of picture like, okay, Chad's going to be at a meeting at 6 a.m. I'm going to set his theater at a level 100, play Metallica at 4:30 a.m.
Get me going. Well, maybe, and Cheyenne can speak to that, but I mean, you started, it'd be about 4.5 years ago. And tell them maybe a little bit about what you were doing at, I think it was My Home Group or somewhere, compared to what you've matriculated to.
Yes. So I graduated high school with my associate's degree, and it was mostly for the idea that I wanted to be a doctor. So I was trying to cut my school time, as much as I can with all that med school and residency. So I went into college at GC pre-med. And then I was also doing clinicals at the time. And that summer, right before I started my freshman/junior year, I did a rotation, and I was like, I don't think I can be a doctor. And like 2 weeks before school started, I called my counselor, and I'm like, I can't do it. I need to switch majors. What do I do? He's like, well, when people don't know what to do, they do business management. So I was like, okay, let's just do that. And since I graduated with my associate's degree and then went to a private university, every credit I transferred over, I was 1 credit short.
Oh.
So he was like, now that you're also switching majors, you're going to need to do an internship to make up the deficiency. So I was like, where can I find an internship in 2 weeks? And my parents were trying to sell their house at the time. And my mom just blabbers on, and, she's kind of a meticulating trend, you'll see. And she's talking to the real estate agent about it. She's like, actually, I need help with marketing. Is she on social media? Can she help us out with that? So I was a marketing intern for a real estate agent in Goodyear. They're actually the ones who helped me get my license. Once I turned 18, I was only like 17 at the time. So I got licensed right as I turned 18 and then handled marketing, and that's all I kind of did for about a year. But once I graduated college at 19, I wanted to pursue real estate full time. And I went to My Home Group and then a a title guy, a business developer, was like, actually, I think I have a great match for you on a team. And it was a startup team, and it sounded amazing, tech and the whole thing. But then the pandemic happened because I graduated in like December 2019. So literally that January 2020, and then I started getting into the role of things. It was actually more of a buyer-driven team. So we were kind of partnered with a lender who did what's the word? They helped buyers with like concessions and all that kind of stuff. So they would literally
like the down payment assistance.
That's exactly
programs.
what I was looking for. Yeah. So down payment assistance was like their specialty. That was like their bread and butter. So our team was growing.
You don't have to deal with that anymore.
You're right. Completely opposite.
Yeah. So my point is, I remember her telling me that in the interview. I go, well, what do you do? And she's like, well, I have a team of 8, and I go, and it's first-time home buyers, and and again in 2021 pandemic, you're looking. So I'm like, well, what's a typical price range? Like, well, $350, and I go, so how's that going for you? How many of those you got? I got about 12 or 15. I go on your team. Oh, each one has about 6. So I said, so you're looking for about 80 of these homes. How's that going? Not great. How many listings you got? Like 3.
Yeah.
And so, the numbers just got crazy. But you can speak to how it just kind of ramped up, right, every year.
Oh yeah.
And she's just seeing all these different things and being able to, as a young person, exposed to different things. My 26-year-old got his degree at Grand Canyon, his MBA, and just got his license, as you guys know, probably a few weeks ago. He'll be joining us here at RETSY.
Awesome.
And he's working at the trucking company.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably morph into the financial side of things. We've just hired our first CFO. But what I tell a young person, my piece of advice would be, put your head down and work.
Yeah.
Just learn. And I can tell you that is what Shaianne has done.
I can't tell you how many agents I've known, coached, known throughout the industry where it's just like nobody really goes to college for real estate.
Right.
Except for maybe me.
Oh, yeah.
I did it too.
I was at GCC, like Real Estate 101, Real Estate 202. I just bought my first house at 18, loved the process. I'm like, I want to do real estate, right? It was funny because when I got hired at Century 21, this guy, Frank Wards, he's like, nobody wants to do real estate. You end up in it. And if you're good at it, it's very rewarding. And I'm like, no, I actually want to do real estate. I like that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was working at the marketing company or the commercial printing company. So it kind of worked hand in hand in the evolution of it. But, real estate is such a great career. I mean, it gives you freedoms that nobody else does. It gives you the ability to make an amazing living. And sometimes you feel like you work too hard for the commissions, and sometimes you don't work that hard for the commissions. But at the end of the day, it all evens out. I had a great conversation with one of my clients that we've sold a couple of new build specs for him, and he's like, well, we're going to sign with you again, but just take me through, because it seems like this one was a layup. And I'm like, a layup? I'm like, do you know how many times we touted this, how many emails we sent out, how many agents we drug through previewing this house? And I'm like, the whole reason why this home sold is because we drug an agent through who mentioned it while she was sitting in another open house and it sold. I'm like, you don't realize what happens behind the scenes. I'm like, if I could build a software that we could log every single thing we do in a given day, it's like, you'll understand the justification of this. But I'm like, in the reverse, we found you the lot, you hired your guy, and then you came back and collected $500,000 8 months later.
Well, and I think, they don't see all, I had a boss that used to say, listen, Chad, I don't want the labor pain, I just want the baby. And I was like, I don't understand that until I got a little older. But, what I would say again with young people and what Shaianne did. So my son decides he's going to get his MBA 2-3 years ago. And the day after he said that and we were setting him up, she gives me, hey, I need a reference letter. I go, for what? She goes, well, I'm going to get my master's of real estate development at U of A. I go, what the hell? For what? And so it's a 2-year program. She's working. She finished in a year,
So you have your master's in business?
Of real estate development from U of A. Mm-hmm. And where are we going to use that? I don't know. But my point is
we're putting it on your business card. That's for sure.
But the point is just the learning, right? Just to learn and to grasp it.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of different avenues, right, in real estate that you could,
so many
you could go to.
verticals, yeah. Yeah. No, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it also stems back to like, you answer your phone, you respond to text.
Yeah.
Like every once in a while I have an agent that calls me and it's like, hey, I'm having a slow quarter or this and that. And I'm like, all right, well, here's some things we can work on. And I'm like, hey, do you remember when you didn't call me back like 2 weeks ago? Like, do you do that to clients? Like, or just me?
Yeah,
yeah. I'm not going to take it personal, but I'm just bringing up a point. Like, speed to response, right?
Yes.
What do I tell Christy? What do I tell Sydney? It's like,
Yep.
like you need to be the one to respond immediately, let them know. Like one of my best clients, the whole reason why I got him and keep him is just he knows that he's going to get a response right away.
Well, and the thing is, in this day and age, right, I say, and I'm an old guy, right? And so 20, 30 years ago, but I say one of the best abilities is availability, right?
Yeah.
And all our companies, it's about the communication. There's studies that have proven that on when they call the pool company for a remodel bid or whatever, that if you get back to them in the first 24 hours, the conversion rate goes out of the roof.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think, and by the way, we don't always have the answers, right?
Mm-mm.
But I would tell you the thing in Emery Lane is we've built a lot of houses, right? I would say most of them have been pretty happy with the journey. There might be some, like myself, that weren't happy with the journey. But I can tell you that if you call us or you try to get a hold of us, we do not put our head in the sand and we will get back to you. Even me, like they'll text me and I'll be like, I may not have the answer, but I will tell them I'll get the answer. So I just think that alone is a huge thing in the world we live in, is just get back to people.
That's the best feature I've ever seen come out on the iPhone when they had the text to respond. Like you're in a meeting, you can't take the call, and like you can go in, a lot of people don't realize you can go in and customize this.
Yeah,
so I
sure.
think my first one is like, tied up, can't answer the phone. If it's important, text me, or I'll call you in 10, or like unavailable, I'll call you in 30. And then I think I have a custom one for one person. It's like, I will get back to you by the end of the day.
No. I thought it was me. Leave my ass alone.
No, you get the 10-minute call back.
Yeah. But, I think, and Shaianne can speak to this, but when you go from first-time home buyers and what you did to the numbers, as Matt knows, we talked about before I got here, of what we're going to do this year. Mm-hmm. And literally from January to January, and again, it's mostly Shaianne. I'm on the names usually, but she's handling, as you guys know, the transactions. She's probably going to do $45 million in real estate this year.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah, it's insane. It was like a culture shock. I was like, "What do you mean we're spending $1 million to rip this house down and then build $5 million?"
Yeah.
So I was having clients in the 200s. So it was night and day.
Yeah. Yeah, born and raised in the West Valley, we used to talk about numbers on houses. So this one's 670, this one's 440,000, and then I remember the first time I had a conversation with an agent that's like, "This is 1.3," and I'm like, "What does he mean by 1.3?"
I didn't know you grew up in the West Side. Yeah.
I did, born and raised.
Me too.
But now it's like, I mean, and we just started promoting this, but RETSY's #1 in the Valley for large brokerage, for highest average sale price, highest volume per producing agent. I mean, everything is 1.4, 1.7, 10.2. What was the best one? Was like 27.8 last year. It's like, and we're seeing more and more of that.
Sure.
But, that's also, I think, another thing, the reason why we hit our strives, and you guys have hit your strives and everything after COVID, is just like, we focus on the higher end clienteles that weren't so tied to interest rates, right?
Well, they say, you want to get rich, solve rich people's problems.
Yeah.
And I think, you think about that, but me coming from Emery, South Dakota, the big metropolis of 400 people, I mean, I graduated with 12, and appreciate my partner letting me name it that, because it just resonates to kind of our Midwest upbringing, and but there's certain things when you talk about building houses that we try to do that's an Emery Lane thing. You get that all the time. It's like, I get a couple questions. One, how much can you build my house for, right? I get that every week.
Yeah.
How much can you build for? Two is...
What are you telling people this week?
It's hard because, we'll do these GC jobs and we're like a lot of these guys, we're cost plus, 20% or whatever. So it's really transparent.
Yeah.
So you as the client really drive it.
Well, and you have good subs. Like, I mean, you're framing 10 houses at once. You're getting way better pricing than somebody who's doing one-offs.
Yeah, Richard's had these relationships for 15, 20 years. Having said that, you still want to get a couple of bids, still want to keep everybody honest. And but it's getting, as you said earlier, the domino effect of one trade not showing up that then hustles the next trade. And when you go through a budget of a house build, it's 138 line items. Mm-hmm. So what I was saying and alluding to earlier is this is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts, you know. But I think for us, there's certain things that'll be like, well, what's standard in an Emery Lane home? Well, now we're doing, doesn't matter if it's $1 million home or it's a $10 million home, we're doing toe kick lighting. We like to think, I think we do a really good job of the spaces. I mean, one of my pet peeves is going into a big old house in Paradise Valley or Scottsdale, and your sink is 23 feet over and mine's over here in the master bathroom, primary bathroom. It's like, why waste this space? Let's efficiently use the space. And I think secondary closets. What Richard, my partner, will say is that he has 4 kids, I have 3. I think what we try to do is figure out how people live. And that comes down with us meeting the client. As we've evolved, I remember the third flip me and Richard did probably. I remember we didn't have an office yet, and he was sitting on the floor at the flip with his computer. And we're looking at the island, which was the first project Christina Forrest from 21 Interiors did for us. And it had a little, it was a little bit bold, the island, and he didn't like it. Frankly, he wanted me to continue to do the interior design on these houses. And I go, Richard, we got to get an expert involved here at some point, But when you're growing this company and you're bootstrapping it, you don't want to pay. You don't want to pay for an office. You don't want to hire the next, you need a project manager, so it's constantly a push-pull to get there. But after that, he's sitting there on the floor and he's like, I think I like that island. He finally got his head around why we're doing these things. I remember another thing that we do is if you go to like our Vista house, we do like a tongue and groove underneath the patios, kind of a thin, and I remember it was a house right over off 56th Street in Thomas. It was probably about our 5th or 6th house. And I said to him, hey, wonder if we should do like some tongue and groove or something underneath. What's the options? Well, you just drywall it, And I go, well, what's the cost? And he goes, man, that's like $1,000, man. And I go, okay, I think we should do that. But, you're thinking about, geez, should we spend the $1,000, or not? And now it's pretty much standard. We do something underneath those patios to just have that effect. But it just took time to get. I could tell you the house where he was sitting on the floor with his laptop looking at that island. Back in that day, that was right before the pandemic. We paid $375,000 for that house, right over on 63rd Street in Earl, where I built my first house right next door. And Cheyenne actually built a house on 6331 Earl, and $375. Our budget was probably $250, and we're thinking, damn it, $250. So now we're in it for $625. We sold the house for $775. And we thought we were there. We had made it. You know what I mean? And now we're just buying a piece of dirt over on off of Osborne and 50th Street where we've done about 6 or 7 houses. 10,000, about 11,000 square foot lot. We're paying $825 for the dirt. Much to your point about your friend, a half acre, a perfectly nice house, and they're tearing it down. So again, I'm just going to the fact that it's like
you have to do nice stuff to a home or it just won't sell. I mean, there's one that I don't even know if it's still on the market on Camellia, but it's like this guy bought it, put in like 89-cent tile, cheap cabinets, everything, put it on the market for a little bit more. I think he said he was going to move into it, but he's like, it's totally remodeled. And I'm like, yeah, but like anybody spending over $2 million for a house is going to expect more than this. Like, we're going to blade it. Like, I would think we would blade it.
Well, and I think if you talk to like Christina at 21 Interiors or Audrey at Bellflower does our landscape now, what we've been able to have to do is to get these experts that are good in their field to bring us along, right? And that's a good point, because if you talk to some of your agents, it's like, what's the shelf life for what people are looking at here and now? 7 years, 5 to 7 years, you know what I mean? 9 years, where they're then looking for the next new thing.
Well, it's just like, you remember when like Thomas James moved into the Valley, and it's like every floor plan was similar, high ceilings, small rooms. And then it was like white cabinets in everyone. We remember we did a broker tour with like 5 of their homes, and every single one had white cabinets. And it's like, and the evolution's changing, and now it's kind of like off-white, and now I'm seeing more greens and blues, and it's just like you just don't know what that's going to be. But you guys have always done a really good job of being ahead of the curve. Like your floor plans, like when I'm in a decent sized room, the ceiling heights are right, whether it's 9, 10, 12. I know I recently saw a house where it was just like wall to wall is 14 foot, but they had 18-foot ceilings. And I'm like, it just feels off in here. Like, it's just like, but you guys have good proportion with your, designers and your architects, and I feel like you're ahead of the curve on a lot of stuff. I mean,
and that's attributed to the experts, right? Yeah. I can tell you one thing that I would do differently, and you were in my house that I'm selling now, and I think you went through it, and you told me, well, there's one thing I see. Do you remember what you told me?
I don't remember what I ate for breakfast. So.
You said, hey, I think where your light switch are. Your light switch, these the cap around it. You're like, I think you could upgrade those.
Oh, the screwless plate covers.
Yeah.
Anything over $2 million needs to have screwless.
Yeah. So I mean, there was, you found something
but these
that I could improve on.
They always do the cheap. I mean, it's like literally you're going to spend 30 cents versus 60 cents, like per light cover, and it's like screwless. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in homes.
Right, it's
they got screwless light covers in this room.
Yeah. And I'm just saying,
Kirk Kramer does it right.
Yeah, you're out there and you see all this stuff, and it's really becomes, how do you differentiate yourself? It's kind of because of the details. But what I was going to say is the one thing that I did wrong at my house, and I think I told you, is I'm a little bit of a sneakerhead. So I'm a shoe guy, and my wife still I think has the edge on me, but I have a lot, and I had. Just between me and Christina, the designer, we designed the closet, which is probably about as big as this room. And I don't have anything on the top. You know what I mean? That wasn't efficient. So what I would tell you is that, and since then, it's been 2 years now, we have closet people do the closets.
Yeah.
That's what they're good at.
Yeah.
You talk about hampers and space and how they do it. It's like, let the experts do their thing.
Yeah, that's so critical. So with your business growth and everything, like if you were, let's just say you're a newer builder in the Valley or you're a newer agent in the Valley, it's like, what was the biggest lesson you learned through all the growth that you've had?
I think, again, it goes back to communication. And just as we've gone, the people, as I just said earlier, we wouldn't be where we're at today had I not been able to get Shaianne on, had we not connected, with a designer, had we not, you really have to let the experts do what they do, because as entrepreneurs, as maybe someone, with a little bit of an ego, whatever, we tend to micromanage, and I just did an exercise, and we are implementing this thing called EOS in our companies, and I did a thing called delegate and elevate, and it's like, what am I good at and what do I like doing? What am I good at and I don't like doing? You know what I mean? You go through this whole matrix, because as we get busier and as we get older, time is really really of utmost importance. Time
and freedom.
Yeah, but going back to if I was a new agent or I was building, again, mentorship, right, is great, but put your head down and just listen and learn and go. And again, availability is one of the best abilities. Yeah. My 19-year-old is now working 2 days a week. He's going to Grand Canyon as well. And, making sure he shows up at 8 a.m. this morning, be available, listen, and just put your head down and work.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point that, we have conversations with agents all the time of like, they're so busy. I'm not going to say her name, but like super busy, right? Like took $40 million in listings last week, right? And like, we're at that point where it's like, I'm going to have to gently push her into hiring her first assistant, right? And doing that. Because the problem is agents just get burnt out and then they take some vacations and they slow way down. And then they get busy again. But it's just like building out your team with people that complement you is so vitally important.
And then taking care of those team members, right?
Exactly.
As you guys would know, and I know this is like, right, happens all the time in the real estate agency world, is would have happened maybe I'm an agent, I bring Shaianne along, and she's as good as advertised, right? Yeah. And what happens?
Yeah.
She goes off on her own, right?
Yep.
So there has to be this alignment and the reason to stay together and be aligned and to go forward. And so does it come down to financial stuff sometimes? Sure, it does. Yeah. And I think it comes down to greed, but knowing that you're better as a team than apart, and you can still get there and still become financially free,
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's one of the really big pain points for like people that start a team is the biggest fear is, well, I'm going to teach them everything I know.
That's right.
They're going to get good and they're going to leave. And my favorite like Tom Ferryism that I picked up from one of his conferences is, well, the alternative is you don't teach them anything, they don't get good, and they stay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But to your point, if, you teach that junior agent and you treat them right,
That's right.
It's going to be a long, rewarding partnership both ways.
Yeah.
I think Chrissy and I, we have the end of year, we do our Christmas party end of year. I always kind of pull her aside. I'm like, are you happy? Like, are you happy with what you made this year? Is there anything you'd change about it, this and that? And I've had years where she's like, no, like I did not make enough this year. And, so I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to change structures for next year? This and that. And now, like, she just does everything herself. Like, she's on her own, like, runs stuff. Like, she still helps me with a lot of stuff and different listings. But, like, I remember we went to that partners retreat, and it was like, we put 3 deals in contract, and like it was cool to be CC'd on this stuff and not get sucked in.
No,
and just
absolutely.
It's handled the exact way you want it.
That's right.
And then this year's Christmas party, we're doing a really cool thing. I'm having Chef Eddie come down from Flagstaff and cook for the team and do an interactive dinner and all that stuff. We did it last year and they loved it, so we're going to do a repeat of it. But it's like, we'll still get together and be like, are you happy? Did you make enough? Do you feel comfortable? Do you like everything the way we have it flowing? You do that with your team, and it's just like, they'll stay.
Yeah, absolutely. And, because they call it work for a reason. It's hard, right? Yeah. Life is hard. Yeah. And I think doing the little things like that and getting their input and how can we get better is what it's all about. I mean, if you looked at Cheyenne's numbers from when she started with us 4 or 5 years ago and where we're at now, Lord mercy, I wish at 25 years old, I was making that kind of money, and having someone to tell me what to do as I'm making that money. She's invested in another entity I have, which is Klock Properties, where we just do a few of these. Her and my son at 25 and 26 are invested in Klock Properties and getting paid every month. Yeah. And Lord, I had a mother and father that we grew up in rural South Dakota, and it just wasn't the same then, and now so we try to put that out, and it's up to that young person or that individual to, of course, accept that advice, but that I think is going to be, you guys know, like the rule of 72, right? So if you're getting 12% interest, which typically hard money when we pay or our investors 10-12%, and you just let that ride. I just had an investment for one of my employees, actually, let's just say it's $250,000, and this person is going to let it accrue. Typically, by the way, on our investors, we pay them every month. We ACH everybody, they get it same time every month. But this one's going to accrue it. Yeah. If he accrues that at 10 or 12%, you do the math and you divide that. At 12%, rule 72 is that money will double in 6 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, if he let it ride for 12, that $250 turns into $500,000, turns into $1 million.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, for the younger agents out there, one of the best things you can do when you're starting to make money is put that money into other investments so that you can't spend it.
Yeah, and it's hard, right?
Kelly and I live, I swear to God, we've lived paycheck to paycheck for what it feels like 8 years, because like every time you get an extra couple $100,000, it's like you put a down payment on a rental, or you put an investment out there, you invest in a company, or you do different things like that. And then it's like later in life, it's like you reap the rewards because you have assets you have income producing properties. And it's like, then you go out and buy all the sneakers and watches you want. Right.
Like, typically, but you have to have that discipline, right? To get there. And me and you have talked, it was a lot cheaper when I just was a sneakerhead, by the way. now we get into the watches, you get into the cars, and it's just a gradual, ascension.
Yeah. No, that's the best advice you can give a young agent. It's just like, when you have it, stash it, put it into an investment, looking at, I know you do a lot of stuff with stocks. Did you see my,
Yeah.
I have this new thing. This is my new thing. Like, I'm all about the prediction markets. What is it? Gosh, or whatever, poly markets and all that stuff. But then I plug AI into the prediction markets. I'm like, what does the public think NVIDIA is going to do today when they release earnings? It was like 97% confidence that NVIDIA is going to beat earnings. I'm like, okay, so we'll buy some NVIDIA options, right? And then I text Matt like at, 4:30. I'm like, told you.
Yeah. But, well, it never, by the way, even as an agent entering at 35 or 40, right, it's never too late. I mean, I'm like, my dumb ass is like Colonel Sanders. I told you, I had a negative net worth probably 5-6 years ago. Before me and Richard really started going and I built my new house. So it's never too late,
Yeah. We have a lot of agents that are mentored by guys like Adam, and like I know Mike, the Stecks are doing it. Sienna and Jen did their first one, and it's like our agents, that next generation of agents, are learning how to do this stuff from people within our company. It's part of the culture, it's part of sharing, but it's also like you need to do this to build wealth, right? You don't want to sell real estate till we know the agents out there that are about to turn 90 and still selling real estate. It's like,
and it's that's a huge
love
thing.
all of them, but,
because
if you don't want to be that person.
Because if you can learn from these other agents, we tell guys, I already made those mistakes. I already made those mistakes. We already paid. Richard, my partner, likes to call it the stupid tax. I already paid that.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close. Anything else we want to cover? Hour goes by like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we always like to wrap up with how do people connect with you after the podcast, and Jack will link everything in the show notes. But what's the best way for people to connect with you guys?
They connect with Chaianne.
Connect with Chaianne. So Chaianne, what's the best way?
Call, text, email, Chaianne@emerylanehomes.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on all the things.
Awesome.
You got to follow their Facebook channel. They put out some really cool cribs videos.
Yeah,
really we're hoping. We got a few more set up, so we'll hope to do a better job of content. They have to we have the content, although sometimes when you pre-sell these houses, like I'll give you an example, that Vista house, the owners want to move in and you're trying to get done, and we didn't even get pictures of that house. Now we'll go back to them and probably shoot a cribs video.
Oh, that's cool.
But that sometimes is a bit of a detriment when we pre-sell these things to get our content.
Yeah. That was a really cool house. I really
very cool house.
Through that
worked out really good. The basement thing actually worked out really well.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah.
Well, thanks guys for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys.
That wraps up this week's episode of the RETSY podcast. Thanks for listening. Check out the show notes to connect with Chaianne and Chad. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a moment to leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast. And please subscribe so you never miss what's next. Next week, Chris and Matt are sitting down with RETSY agent Nolan Hines. Here's a sneak preview.
We'll probably get into it, but I had a lot of health issues when I first got licensed, right? So I got licensed my freshman year of college at 19 years old. I went with this one brokerage and stayed there. Amazing, family support, relationship, but I wasn't doing much business. And I realized at the end of the day, I'm doing real estate for myself, and I have to figure out what's right for me. And I needed a big change in environment. And after going to just being out and about, learning other brokerages and doing that, I went a lot to the Arcadia Camelback home tour, talked to a bunch of other RETSY agents there. I kept seeing all these beautiful homes and projects and developments done by RETSY agent, RETSY, right? And I was like, they're doing something right.